Welcome back to Coffee and Conversation. So, the Audie news is, as usual lately, he's in the bedroom sleeping. And yes, I have finally isolated it. He really is just waiting for me to go in and nap with him. And I think maybe the problem is that it's starting to get warmer at night. Therefore, he doesn't want to be right on top of me all night long, which he does in the winter. In the summer, oh, not so much. And maybe that's what's happening. Maybe he is just expressing his concerns about how hot it gets if we have to spend 8 hours right on top of one another in that bed. But whatever happens, either he comes out and visits us or he stays in there, whichever way it goes down. I am going to go in and give him a little bit of special cuddle once I've got the video finished and everything is in the bag. I'll go pay attention to a cat. So yes, Audie does seem to be doing well. And who knows, maybe some of it really is the fact that he's getting older and slowing down a bit. We'll see. He did, however, have company this morning. The guy who does my yard came over, and of course he and Audie are great friends. They have to be, because Audie supervises that yard work. And you would think he would be afraid of things like the sound of the lawnmower or the weed whacker. No, he's fine. He just goes out and makes sure everything is done to his satisfaction. So, but he loves any little bit of company he gets. The mail carrier comes over, he's ready to get in her car and go off with her. That's just my over-friendly little cat. All right, we are going to take a look at the intro. When we are through with the intro, we are going to talk about the Chanel jacket giveaway because we have a timetable for it. All right, in a minute. So, the Chanel jacket giveaway. This is going to be handled, as are all of our giveaways, through the suemeangels Facebook page. For those of you who are not on Facebook, I have an email address in the video notes. Now, some months ago when I posted that address the first time around, I made a mistake. The address in the video notes now is the correct email address, and that is available for those of you who would like to participate but don't do Facebook. And of course, I'm not going to judge you for that because I don't know how Facebook works either. And people ask me all the time, are you on social media? No, I'm not. I mean, I have a YouTube channel, but I'm not on social media because it intimidates me. So I understand if this is not your thing, there is an alternative method for participation. And remember, nothing goes through the channel directly. When we were doing giveaways through the channels, scammers attacked the videos and were telling people, oh yeah, you won, just send me money. Well, you all know, my position on this is if you have to pay for it, it's not much of a giveaway. No, you will never have to pay for a giveaway. If there are issues with shipping or customs, we will substitute the prize for something that is customs and duty free, like an Amazon gift card or something. We will always make arrangements to get you, if not exactly what you want, a reasonable approximation depending on the country you live in. And of course, we are restricted by international law. Nothing we can do about that. But we will do it. It will never cost you money. Never. Because that's not how a giveaway works. So if anybody ever says to you, you want a prize, you just say, get thee behind me, scammer, and look away. because it won't be coming from this channel. Now, let me show you the fabric and the trim, and that's what these images are. The fabric is 100% wool boucle. The trim is heaven only knows what. I'm going to assume it is a combination of acrylic with little plastic beads. I don't know, because I got the trim after I purchased the wool fabric, and it's novel. It's a novelty item. It was something that was not part of my thinking when I developed the jacket in my head. I knew, in fact, I was probably not going to have a lot of choice in the material composition of the trim. I would have to make my decision based on the aesthetics only. So, having said that, the lining is going to be 100% white linen. I haven't bothered to show you a picture of that because it's white linen. You know what white linen looks like. And now let me show you what I think is probably going to be the closest approximation of the style. And that is this jacket. However, the jacket that I will be making will not have the upper set of pockets. Now, the reason for this is I have no idea who's going to be getting this jacket. I have no idea what her body type is. And for all I know, the winner of the giveaway could be a male looking for this jacket for a female relative, which takes me even one step farther away from our winner. But those upper pockets, boy, you place them wrong and they are like bullseyes on your tatas, and I am not doing that to anyone. There is, just to mention, a reason for this. When Coco Chanel first developed this jacket style, it was decades ago. And at that time, the fashion, well, in the 20s and 30s, the fashion for a woman's silhouette was much lower on the bodice. Then we moved into the 40s, 50s, 60s, and the bodice became much higher. The tatas were just loud and proud, frankly. And the pattern that I will be using is probably going to be from somewhere between the 60s and 80s. Loud, proud tatas. And today we're back to that lower, more elongated silhouette that we had in the 20s, the 30s. Meaning that those pockets could show up anywhere. And like I say, I'm not putting a bullseye on anybody's tatas. The upper pockets were never a defining feature of the Chanel jacket, so it's not going to take anything away from this. I have many, many photos of Chanel jackets because, you know, I've been planning this project for quite a while, so I've been doing my research. And I would say at least 25% of the Chanel jacket photos in my files have only the lower set of pockets. And so I just wanted to explain, oh gosh, and I've really dug myself into a rabbit hole, haven't I? But it's just, it's not a thing I'm going to do to anyone, because personally, I would not wear a jacket that had trim right across the tata. I wouldn't do that. Like I said, it's like a bullseye on your tatas. It brings you a certain visual attention that may not necessarily be welcome. Of course, it might be. You know, it all depends, I guess. But I'm not going to be part of that. And if you want to add little pockets, I'll send you the extra fabric and you can do it. But that's on you. I am not going to be pimping out any of our subscribers. So, having said that, the giveaway period will begin beginning of May and run through the beginning of June. It's going to run for an entire month. The reason for this is I want as many of you as possible to be able to get involved in the giveaway. And I know a lot of you take your time making decisions. I do. I tend not to trust my impulse decisions, so I want to make sure that it's available. You have a chance to think it over. Do I want to participate in this giveaway, etc.? Now, one more point that I do want to make. Part of the reason that I am so vague about what this jacket is going to look like at the end of the day is because I want this giveaway to be as inclusive as possible. So at this point, there is no size restriction. I have patterns that will accommodate me right up into the women's plus size range. And although I do not have things like junior styles in this, I know how to find patterns. So I'm not really worried about that. The only size restriction we are going to have is I bought that wool boucle fabric a couple of years ago, and I can't get any more. So it's the amount of fabric I have, and I'm pretty sure I can go up to at least a 2X on that fabric. So, like I say, as inclusive as possible, this happens to be a jacket style that looks just as good on plus-size women as on the little, single-digit 0, 2, whatever. Years ago, I used to be in a single-digit size. Really, I did. I know it's hard to believe, isn't it? But yes, years ago I was, so I'm not mocking them, only just a little bit, because, quite frankly, I was pretty gosh darn skinny then. But yes, we're going to cover as many sizes as possible. So that's part of the reason that it's vague. You've seen a picture of the jacket. You know what the fabric's going to look like. So use your imagination. For those of you who want to follow along, when we begin the giveaway program, I'm going to be able to give you a general list of patterns that will be suitable. And mind you, if you make your own slopers, and many people do these days, you're going to be able to use that. You're probably going to be able to modify any random pattern you have for a simple boxy shirt. And I'm going to give you the fabric list, all the things that you need, and all the things that you can eliminate if you want to. Because the point of this is not just to provide an interesting giveaway. The point of this is to show you the construction techniques I've acquired over the years that can save you time and turn an intermediate to advanced project into a beginner-friendly project. Remember, I first made this jacket when I was 12 years old. I am not kidding you. I might have even been 11. I remember what year it was, but I don't remember what time of year. I was 11. Thinking back, yes, I made it for Easter, and Easter falls before my birthday. So I was probably about 11 and a half when I made this. If I could do this as a little girl, like not even tall enough to ride the big rides at the amusement park, of course you can do it. It's absolutely a beginner project. And I am also going to try to show you as many of the interesting and easy couture techniques I've picked up over the years, some of which you may not be familiar with. Others may save you a tremendous amount of time and, I almost said elevate, and improve the quality of the garments you sew so that you can create something you'll be proud of. So I have a whole agenda I am laying on this giveaway. Now, let me add something else, because Lisa from DesertDragonworks, she's one of our suemeangels, so she's one of the people who's going to be in charge of the giveaway, has decided to add something to it. And that would be this. And yes, Lisa has this wonderful long, I believe Colleen said it was 84 inches, so what is that, 7 feet of faux pearls that Lisa is throwing in. And, oh yeah, if you have a Chanel jacket, you have to wear it with pearls. I think it's a law. And if it isn't, it should be. So yes, Lisa is throwing things in, and I imagine over time we are going to be able to add other little things. Who knows where it'll take us. But at this point, jacket and the pearls, as well as the video showing you how to do it. All right, enough about that, and I will pick up in a couple of weeks when the giveaway actually begins. So go over and check out the suemeangels, because this is a fabulous group of people, and they are artsy types, they are craftsy types, and it's just a very supportive community. So, enough about that. Speaking of community, and this ties into the Chanel jacket. The very first comment I received on yesterday's video was a question about how my sewing fits in to my impulse buying. And I thought, you know, that is a whole thing we should probably cover. Because for me, sewing is sort of my little hobby crafty thing. And to be fair, there have been times when it's been more significant in my life, times when it's been less significant in my life. But given the fact that it is something that I will buy things for. I will buy fabric, I will buy notions, I will buy tools, whatever. It is something that absorbs some of my flexible spending budget, but it also contributes to my wardrobe. So I figured we should probably talk about this for a couple of reasons. One, it does impact the clothing I buy and the type of clothing I buy. Two, when we talk about impulse spending, we're not just talking about clothing. We all have our impulse spending buys. Now, I cleaned out my kitchen cabinet recently, and you saw the stuff I had in there from like 2019. Gosh, that's so embarrassing. Yeah, you saw what I had in there. So what that means is I also buy food products that apparently I'm buying on impulse because I'm not actually using them. If I were using them, they would not be in my cabinet untouched 6 years later. We have things around the house that we buy, and sometimes they haven't even left the box. We have things we buy for our little craftsy projects. So impulse buying isn't limited to clothing or jewelry or shoes. It's all across the board. So when I talk about what my spending is like for my hobby craft, sewing, what I want you to do is just take out sewing and replace your own little favorite hobby craft, because this is just cross-applicable. You might not be making clothing. You might be making throw pillows for your sofa. You might be creating watercolors to hang on your walls. You could be doing all kinds of very, very interesting things with your painting, your sewing, your ceramics. You might be making your own coffee mugs. But these are also areas that can be very, very seductive when it comes to impulse spending. Now, I am not guilty of much in the way of impulse spending when it comes to my sewing, because long ago I put a restriction on myself. If I bought fabric, I had to have a project in mind. I couldn't just go into a store and say, "Ooh, pretty, you're coming home with me." Why? Because I've done that before. You know, it's like, yes, been there, done that, and I don't even have the t-shirt because I never turned that fabric into anything. So I learned from the mistake, and now if I buy something, it has to have an earmarked project. So let me just quickly show you the last batch of fabric I got. And this is fabric I've purchased over the last 2 years. And it is still sitting in my document boxes. That's where I keep my fabric. Because I had planned on starting the work only after I had that knee replacement. And the reason for that, I think, is obvious. you have knee replacement surgery, your knee swells up, you get a distorted body image in the aftermath of the surgery. I didn't want to go through that because I thought it would demoralize me. So I made up my mind that I would not start any of this until at least a few months after the knee replacement surgery. Knee replacement surgery is done, clock is ticking, those projects are going to get started this summer. So let me just show you what it is I have ended up purchasing. And again, all designated trouser fabrics. So I picked up 3 different shades of brushed cotton. Now, this is called moleskin, brushed cotton, combed cotton. These came from the UK. I have trouble getting high quality brushed or combed cotton in the US. So, in fact, the name of the company in the UK I got this fabric from is in the video notes. And I would recommend them, quite frankly. It's good quality fabric at a reasonable price, and it's hard to get here. I don't know why that is. And this is a sort of faux suede, 100% cotton, and it's perfect for trousers. Is it perfect for winter trousers? Maybe, maybe not. Depends. I guess it depends on how cold your winters are. But I find it perfect trouser fabric. Every single piece of fabric in that particular document box is going to turn into a pair of trousers. I ended up getting a couple of interesting wool pieces, and that's the navy blue and the black. And frankly, I don't know which is which from the pictures, but I promise you one of those is navy blue, one of those is black. They are both 100% worsted wool, so they are lightweight wool. So it's lightweight suiting fabric. Again, trouser fabric. The one in the top in the middle is a wool silk blend. That was the expensive one I got because that's a Ralph Lauren fabric, and I just really liked it. That is how I buy my fabrics. Now, in addition to this, I will get linings, lining fabrics for some of them, probably lining fabrics for all of them, because I do like lined trousers, but those will also be specifically earmarked for the project I am undertaking. Along with that, any of the consumables, so things like threads, buttons, zippers, those things we ordinarily think of in terms of sewing notions, all going to be earmarked for each particular piece of fabric, so that when I go into that document box, I pull it out, I got everything I need. Now, not everybody works that way. Like I say, many people just fall in love with a piece of fabric and say, I'm going to buy this and I'm going to do something with it. I do have a piece of fabric that falls into that category. And it's because I bought it online and it turned out to be, although it's 100% wool, it turned out to be much lighter weight and much more drapey and unstructured than I expected. So when I got that, initially, I put it into that trouser box and said, well, come hell or high water, I'm making trousers out of that. Well, of course I can't. It's just too floppy and floopy and drapey and whatever. And the style of trouser, I should say this, one of the reasons I will make my own trousers is because I have my own preferred pattern. And that is from the 1980s and back in the days when the 80s did 40s. So it's 1980s, high-waisted, straight-leg trousers that, oh yeah, you could just picture that on Katharine Hepburn. Oh, and believe me, if you can picture it on Katharine Hepburn, I'm a fan. So, yes, I know what the fabric requires, and it's not going to be this floopy, drapey fabric, even though it's 100% wool. I got a really good deal on it because, my mother on my shoulders saying, you can't get rid of that. You got that for $7 a yard, which, by the way, I think I did. So that is going to be something else. It stayed in my designated trouser box until eventually it occurred to me that this would make a great project. And who knows, maybe we'll make a video of this. I once had a fabulous 1930s suit. It was wonderful. And it was a long, long, long time ago, and I can't recall whatever became of it, but it was great. But because I owned that suit and had my grubby little paws all over it and had the opportunity to look at all of the construction techniques in that suit, I would love to make that suit again. And I think even though my suit was out of a very structured fabric, I think it would look fabulous in a very drapey, very flowy wool fabric, because 1930s was all about drapey and flowy. So that's what's going to become of this particular batch of fabric. I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough for a skirt, but I'm absolutely going to have enough for the jacket. So if I have enough for the jacket and the skirt, fantastic. If I don't, the jacket will make me happy. So that's how I keep my project buying in line. I limit myself to only items that I have a designated purpose for. If I were making throw pillows, for example, I would not allow myself to just go hog wild in among the remnants and just, oh, I like this, this one's pretty, what about that? Well, it doesn't go, but we'll throw it in the batch anyway. No, I would be purchasing for specific purposes. The why is because I used to do it the way most people do it, which is just, oh, pretty fabric, I want, I want, I want. And I found myself with a lot of very pretty fabrics that I was not using and eventually ended up donating them all when I went through a period when I wasn't sewing quite so much. I do, in fact, have some fabric bits that I purchased just because they were pretty. And I go on eBay every now and then and look through their used sari collections. And you can get some gorgeous, really gorgeous, breathtaking colors, patterns, and dirt cheap. So every now and then I'll see one and it's like, ooh, I can get, Lord only knows how many yards of fabric. I've got to say, it's probably something like 5 yards of fabric. And it'll be like $15. And I did, in fact, get a few of those, tucked them into a box, and this box is marked lining fabrics. So, like I said about the trousers, I'm probably going to line most, if not all of them, but I may not have to get specific lining fabrics. I might just do something truly sparky and go into that collection of sari fabric and use that as my lining fabrics. It's going to be inside the pants. Nobody's going to see it but me. But my goodness, is it going to put a smile on my face while I'm putting the pants on my butt? So, yes, I'm still tempted from time to time. But this is how I've managed to keep a lid on it. I force myself to say, what am I buying that for? And I have to come up with an answer. No answer, no purchase. So that has been an interesting thing, but it's taken a long, long time for me to develop that self-discipline. And given the fact that I've got maybe half a dozen saris in that lining box, it's obvious that no matter what I think I'm doing in terms of being disciplined, not always, not always. You show me something pretty enough and you are going to suck me into it. On the other hand, what I will say in my own defense is if I decide I want to make slips or pajamas or anything that's lightweight, that would do well with that beautiful tissue thin, it's usually rayon. It's generally not silk. It's ordinarily rayon or what they call art silk, artificial silk. I know it sounds so much more elegant when they say art silk, isn't it? But artificial silk, which is usually rayon, great. It's a fabulous fabric for undergarments. And who knows, I might decide I want to make a blouse one of these days. Again, that's something I do not ordinarily make for myself, simply because I'm too practical for that. It's too easy for me to get a blouse of any sort, everything from a tank top to 100% merino wool sweater. Too easy to go online, go to Amazon or wherever and get something very inexpensively. Something that I can buy for less than I can make. And that, by the way, was the thing that kind of got me out of sewing in the first place, was back in the 90s especially, when we just started seeing clothing prices go down, 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 to the point where if I wanted it, I could probably pick it up just about anywhere for a few bucks, and it didn't make sense to put all the effort into making it. So, that was something I wanted to share with you because we are coming to the end of our allotted time, and you know me, I'll go over if I can. That's how I've managed to control my hobby spending. There are probably ways in which you can take that basic principle and match it to your own hobbies. And who knows what your hobbies are. Your hobby could be painting, for example, in which case maybe it's not such a good idea to pick up 45 blank canvases just because they're on sale. Ask yourself, am I really going to use them all this year? And I think if the answer is no, maybe it would be a good idea not to do it. Because I know with my fabric shopping, it's, do I have a project in mind? Do I have a legitimate timetable for that project? If I can say yes to both of those questions, then yeah, let's go. So I think with anything, like I say, art supplies, if it does, and art supplies, let me just mention this, because I know our artists are going to mention this in the comments. Some art supplies have a very limited shelf life, and you're not really getting a bargain if you buy more than you can use within that window of time when the paint is at its peak performance level, before the watercolor gets so crusty that, no matter how much water you throw on it, you've got nothing but a gloopy mess. Ink will deteriorate over time. Charcoals, they will lose their consistency over time. So, yes, and I'm not artistic myself at all, not in the least. I've just known many artists, and I cannot tell you the number of times I have listened to somebody say, I had to throw away that entire set of pastel crayons because they're too old and the texture is crap now, so I can't do what I wanted to with them. Remember that. So yes, add that time frame on it, because if you can't use it before it goes bad, you've just got to throw it away. You're just wasting your money. And this is true of many, many things that we may buy, that we may think, oh, I'm going to use that. This is going to be great for my hobby or whatever. Are you really committed to the hobby? Is this something that you're really doing, or is it something that caught your fancy and you're just going out grabbing stuff that are filling shelves because you haven't begun the hobby yet? So I think that is something that we should all look at carefully. All right. First of all, before we move on out, remember, the giveaway will be running from May through June. Definitely looking for your input, because remember, this is still a work in progress. My decisions have not been finalized on this, and they will not be until we have a winner and I have her sizes. That's when the decisions will all be finalized. So definitely get over to the suemeangels Facebook page. 2, hobbies can be brought into check. I have been able to do it with my sewing. Also, let me know if you would like to see other sewing projects, because that 1930s jacket, and maybe a skirt with it, we'll see how much fabric I have. That is something I've been interested in doing for a very long time, and that may be something you would be interested in as well. It has the advantage of being created, because it's still in the space between my ears, based on a piece I actually owned. So that one is probably going to be a fun piece. Do you want that to turn into a video? Because I could certainly do that as well. Let's see. Audie has not come out to see us, but I'll go in and cuddle him. Let's see. Oh, Lisa and the pearls. Yes, thank you so much, Lisa, for adding that to our giveaway. And I'm sure everybody is thrilled by this. Yesterday's video, I'd spoken about how much YouTube loves emojis, and you all just flooded me with emojis. So thank you. And I'm sure YouTube is very grateful too. So keep up the good work. Remember, emojify any of your comments. If you like a creator, give them an emoji, because YouTube is then going to be happy with that creator because they got extra emojis. I have no idea why, but hey, we don't make the rules, but we do play the game. All right, we're going to take a look at a slideshow on the way out. I think I'm going to do another one of Colleen's Halloween slideshows, because I love them so much, and I hate the fact that I can really only show them, for a week out of the year. And yesterday I was in a mood for some Halloween magic, and I think it's carried over. I think I'm in the mood for that today too. All right, I will hopefully see you all next week. For those of you who join us for Just Chatting, 8 o'clock New York City time this evening. And meanwhile, have a terrific day.